Alright, so today it's roof rack day. Things with this type of roof rack is you need to have these T channels on the van. I was lucky enough to get one that already had them on here. Not all Sprinter vans come with those pre-installed. There are other people out there who have made their own tracks and their roof racks seem to have worked out just fine. Now, I got this idea from the Van Kooks. So basically what we have is a 2.5 inch 5/16 carriage bolt, a flat washer there, a bigger washer, and then a 1 inch spacer and a stop nut. This smaller washer here actually fits pretty perfectly right there in the channel. The bigger washer there goes on top. The 1 inch spacer, that is because the roof is actually rounded, so you can't just go straight across from one track to the other. It'll hit the roof. I'm going to say the obvious here. Don't do this. Carrying a 60-pound solar panel worth hundreds of dollars up a ladder by yourself is not wise in the slightest. For the love of all my stupidity, just don't. But it is possible. Alright, so you've got the carriage bolt, small washer, which is right under there, big washer, spacer, 1 inch aluminum tubing, solar panel. Alright, today is a good day to do this. When my buddy was over here the other day, initially helping me install the solar panels and the charge controller, he made the good point to get a multimeter and check all of the solar panels because you want to make sure that they work. So let me go show you how you're going to check these solar panels. On the back of your panel, what you're going to look for are these numbers. So you want the VOC, the voltage open circuit, and then the short circuit current. You want your multimeter. So for the two different ones that you're going to test, the first one we're going to do is the VOC, so that's the voltage, and these are running off of DC. So you want to get your multimeter set to DCV, and you want to set your number higher than what the max number here. Since our VOC is 23.25, we are going to have to set this one on 200. For measuring the current, you're going to want to switch this red lead. So for voltage, you have the voltage set there. For anything over 10 amps, for this multimeter, you got to switch this guy over here, and then we're going to switch to DC amperage, and we're going to set it to 10 amps because that is more than the 9.65 that our manufacturer max is going to be. You want these numbers higher because that is going to give you some safeguards to your solar panels so that your multimeter won't actually cause any damage. So what we're going to do now, first we got to wait for the sun to come out from the clouds. Alright, we got some sun. First we're going to test the amperage. Try and face the panel as much as you can right into the sun. Red to red, black to black. If we angle the panel down away from the sun, number is going to decrease, and as we get that better angle, almost 9. Now we're going to switch over, do volts, about 22.5. Now, if you want to see what your more realistic output is going to be on the top of the van, because remember, you gotta realize that we're getting close to max output when this solar panel is angled directly at the sun. Well, when the panel is on the roof, there's only gonna be maybe an hour, 2 tops during the day where the sun is gonna be kind of right overhead, giving you close to max output. I measured these yesterday with the sun directly overhead, still only getting 6 to 7.5 amps from each panel. So that's the thing you got to realize when you are doing solar panels. Don't just look at the max output numbers of the solar panels, because you're very rarely gonna get those numbers. Obviously, it'll depend on where you live. Definitely make sure your solar panels work before you take all the time to mount them on your roof. Now, I am absolutely no electrician, and I'm not necessarily comfortable advising on such topics, but what I can say is in order to hook up my panels, I had to make my own MC4 connectors so that I had a long enough run of wire through the roof to reach the charge controller. Thankfully, that was a pretty simple task. Then I used some electrical conduit through the roof that I sprayed with white Rust-Oleum, and that was so it would both cover the bare metal, and when it dried, it would help keep the conduit in place. Then I ran the wires through the roof gland, then through the conduit, and used butyl tape and a bead of Sikaflex to get the roof gland nice and sealed. We got our cables from the solar panels run, coming in, all of our battery stuff. Got our charge controller, and I can see down there by that little blue glowing bulk light that it is currently charging. Woo! Alright, so there's like 100,000 videos on how to install these fans on Sprinter vans. So here's another one. The first thing that you're going to want to do is figure out where exactly you want to put the fan. For most Sprinter vans, they pretty much have a space for the fan that fits the fan perfectly. Measure, 14 inches out from the center, because that's what this needs. You want to double check this, make sure that your cutout is going to be nice and square. So after measuring that way, I then double checked referencing these ribs to make sure that it was equidistant from those. And then I also measured from this outside edge of the van there, in, and there, in. I also used this little seam up here. That's what I used to make sure this line was nice and square. So, I measured from the front of that seam to the line on one side, front of the seam to the line on the other side. Just like triple, quadruple check, make sure everything is nice and square before you do any cutting. The next thing is going to be pre-drill some holes in each corner for the jigsaw. So we got our butyl tape. One person said to leave this in the refrigerator before using it, just because it makes it a little less tacky during application. But instead, I left it out in the 90-degree weather for about 4 hours. So it's the exact opposite of helpful and easy to apply. We want to start a seam in the middle of the back, and then we're going to keep it one entire piece, which will create even less likelihood of any leak. Slap these bad boy in there. It's a pretty tight fit. Now we're going to drill us some pilot holes. We're gonna do one nice layer of silica. The last thing we're gonna do is a dollop on each of the screws. Now we just need to actually get the fan mounted onto the bracket. Quick dummy wiring. Hey! That's some good stuff right there. Is a 2-inch bolt and a washer and a lock nut underneath. Once it's all done, that's gonna look so clean. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling We don't have central air, we have central fan. Hatch door is a good idea. Yeah. Now I've got hella headroom. Yeah. Now I just need a periscope.